Hello, and welcome to East Meets West, a show about all things Hellenic League. I'm your host, Rob Davies, and I'm joined by Football in Berkshire's Tom Canning and Severn Sports' Ryan Butler. We are broadcasting live on Severn Sports and Football in Berkshire's Facebook pages. And if you want to listen back to our ramblings at any time, you can download our podcast. Just search East Meets West on all good podcast apps. Coming up, we look over some of the week's pre-season games, cast our eye over the FA Cup and FA Vase fixtures, and we will add two more players to our 2019-20 Hellenic team of the season. But to begin with, gents, how are we doing? How have your weeks been?
Mine's been very good.
Did you fall over? You haven't fallen over this week?
No, I haven't. I've stayed on my feet this week.
Good lad.
Got a few games under the belt now, and yeah, we're ready, mate. We're cooking on gas now. We're ready to fly on and get on with the season when it starts in a couple of weeks.
Very good.
Good man.
Tom?
Not so bad. Not so bad. It was a weekend. This is tragic. It was a weekend of housework and painting and preparing for a small child to enter my world and ruin my life. Eventually, I suspect it will take a little while to sink in. But yeah, it's been good. I did catch a bit of Reading City v Leatherhead on Thursday night. Finished 2-1 Reading City, so. They were very happy about that. But yeah, I caught a little bit of that. But yeah, other than that, all good.
Yeah. I didn't get any football this weekend. I was away in Rye, which was very nice. But yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to. Well, no, I just wasn't allowed to go and see any local football. It was a very nice weekend, but would have been improved by 90 minutes of some Kent football action.
See, I would sit here and sort of say, your wife, that's outrageous, your wife won't let you go. But she does let you go to the pub with me at the last minute. So yeah. I really haven't got a leg to stand on with this. So, hi, Kat. Yeah. Thanks.
She ain't in. So
well, she's probably watching. She's probably one of the 8 people watching at the moment. So
there you go. Yeah. Right. So as we mentioned there are some pre-season games that taken place. Reading against Leatherhead. Ryan, which games were you at this week?
So this week we did Long Levens versus Slimbridge on Tuesday. Long Levens won that 3-0. Brad Martin is back in amongst the goals, which can only be a frightening sign for Hellenic Premier defences up and down the country. We didn't have any other games in the midweek, which was a shock really for us. But, on Saturday we went to Brimscombe and Thrupp, first time seeing them play at home. In this pre-season, they played Cirencester Town from the league above. It's part of the sort of the news that I was going to say earlier on, but you might as well say it now. Brimscombe, missing a few players, injured. Squad was a little bit thin. Only had 3 subs on the day and had to make 2 in the first 45 minutes for injury. So it wasn't ideal. Went 1-0 up and ended up losing the game 4-1 just simply because Cirencester were able to make 4 or 5 decent changes at half time and onwards. Whereas Brimscombe couldn't have that luxury, and on the back of that, with the FA Cup games coming up on the 1st, Brimscombe have actually cancelled their next 2 friendlies. Oh. So their pre-season's done. But just because they've got so many walking wounded, they would rather get them ready for that FA Cup games. They've got a long trip to the North Greenford United on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll come on to the fixtures in the FA Cup and FA Vase momentarily. But so any standout performances for you, Ryan, in your the games that you saw?
Yeah, Brad Martin and Kane Winman and Ollie Long for Long Levens in particular were 3 that stood out. Brad Martin scored the perfect hat-trick, and it was the first ever perfect hat-trick I was commentating on. And I was absolutely delighted. It was a header to start with, then a drilled right for effort just before the break, and then with about, I think it's 5-6 minutes left, potentially just a little bit more, left-footed finish past the keeper, and yeah, buzzing with that, absolutely buzzing. And before the second goal, in fact, there was a moment where Kane Winman made 2 absolute blinding saves from a corner. 30 seconds later, Long Levens make it 2-0, and you think, if that's happening in a league game or a competitive fixture, that 30 seconds is the difference between, winning and not winning a game.
Absolutely, yeah.
What about yourself?
Well, I didn't get to see any football since we've spoken last, but you did mention there a perfect hat trick. I once saw England cricketer James Vince score a perfect hat trick for Blackpool and Langley. Yeah, he was playing step 5 football, I think it was, during the winter. So it must have been. I don't know if the England coaches let him get out, but he scored a perfect hat trick, left foot, right foot, and header. Blackfield and Langley or something like that.
Down in the Wessex
League. Yeah, he was playing for them against Whitchurch, where I saw him. So yeah, there you go. There's my little bit of trivia for you.
Well,
anything? Go on.
I didn't see it, but I think Binfield beating Hartley Whitney 6-1 on Saturday with even Jamie McClure getting on the score sheet is...
He'll be delighted with that.
Yeah, I think the only caveat to this is that Hartley Whitney did play on Friday night as well against Wokingham and Embrook. They beat them 2-0. So I don't know the strength of the team on the Saturday, but that certainly is a good win. I think I did once see Jamie score for Bracknell Town. This was back in the noughties. It was a rubbish season as they tended to be, but we were playing absolutely brilliant flowing football. It was superb. He scored against Uxbridge and it was 2-0 and it was brilliant, and then the ref called it off for waterlog pitch, which was
Does that mean technically that goal doesn't exist?
Well, I mean, to Jamie I'm sure it exists. To me it still exists. It was one of the better goals of the season. So I think I think the fact that I can't remember the season what else was going on or anything like that, but I do remember the goal and who they were playing. I think that counts.
You remember the important thing.
Yeah.
That's literally what you've just did
Yes, indeed.
Exactly. And we also had our first abandonment of pre-season, as far as I can make out.
Yeah, I don't know much about this, but it was Cheltenham Saracens versus Abingdon Town or United.
Mm-hmm. Abingdon Town, I think
right.
It was.
I think we had, that wasn't the one I was referring to, but still, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Was there another one?
We also had one at Windsor, didn't we?
Another one. No, I didn't.
Sorry, no, the Windsor one was not for Fracars, though. The Windsor one, was...
Windsor one's far less interesting. That was just a floodlight failure, as far as I can work out. But carry on.
Wait, so they abandoned a game in August for floodlight failure?
Yeah,
was it midweek or was it
midweek?
Yes, it was.
Half time.
It was against
the lights went off.
It was against Bracknell on the Tuesday night at Windsor. I think I don't know what the situation with the Windsor floodlights are, but it happened. It happened once when I was there last season, and I think it had happened a couple of times. So I'm not quite sure what the floodlight situation is there, but it's not ideal. But yeah, far less interesting than a fracas in a pre-season game. You do wonder what goes through people's minds at times.
So give us the overview, Ryan. What happened?
Well, obviously, as I said, we were commentating at Brimscombe and Thrupp at the time. Kelsey turns to me and says, with 15 minutes to go at Cheltenham Saracens, they've called the game off. And it didn't really quite register with me until after the game, and I'm looking on Twitter. We had a couple of tweets from people who were there. Just saying, the game was brought to a halt because of a late tackle, just caused a mass brawl. From what I've heard, obviously not being there, I've heard a couple of punches were thrown, and in the end, the referee called the game off with about 14 minutes left. I think it's the 76th minute. But yeah, wild to think that's going on in a pre-season game. So Christ, what are we doing?
Yeah. That's the cabin fever of lockdown getting to people. They haven't been out.
People are now suddenly too eager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and you think people are worried about what the fans are going to do, how the fans are going to behave, and then it's the players that let themselves down, unfortunately. But both clubs will probably be a bit embarrassed by it, and we'll look to obviously put it behind them as soon as possible and continue along their pre-season and stuff.
You mentioned fans there, and fans are now allowed into football stadiums. Well, with a few caveats. So, we are now allowed to go to football games from Step 3 and below. So, National League South is the lowest level that you still are not allowed into football games. For pre-season or until the FA Cup starts, you are allowed 15% of the league regulation capacity, which for Step 5 and Step 6 is 150 people. And you are still allowed in games if the pre-season friendly that's being played is against a team from higher up the leagues. So games against, for example, National League sides or National League South sides, you can still go and see as long as they're being hosted by the team from Step 3 or below.
Yeah, Saturday we've got Slimbridge versus Gloucester City. Obviously, I said, on the night when we were at Longleven Slimbridge, it was the night when it was announced that the government had said, we didn't actually mean non-league football when it came under the no fans and behind closed doors blanket. And, the chairman of Slimbridge and the secretary of Slimbridge, straight away, everyone's asking them, does that mean we're going to have fans and stuff like that? And the one thing I said to them is reading the statement, you want to worry about your big game against Gloucester City next Saturday. Because that's the big money maker really for Slimbridge. Gloucester will naturally want to bring a lot of fans. So they were quite eager to make sure that game could have fans there. I think the limit is 200 people, which is a shame. It's a shame.
Step
really.
4, are they?
No, Slimbridge are. Slimbridge are in the Severn League Division 1.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing really because Gloucester City is their first pre-season game of the season. They've got this brand new stadium that's being built and due to be open in the next couple of weeks. The Gloucester City fans are itching to get back and watch their club play football. But all these new signings that, in a lot of people's minds, they chuck money at, not against the law or anything to have a budget. So there's excitement around Gloucester City at the moment within our local area. So to know that, realistically, if you take out the Slimbridge faithful, you're probably looking at, 150 Gloucester City fans maybe. Will only be permitted when easily they could probably take 400, really, on a Saturday as well, an earlier kickoff on a bank holiday weekend if the weather's a bit nice. It's a disappointment for Slimbridge, but I think the fact that they can get at least 200 people through that door, and that's money then behind the bar. They've got, card machine in place tonight at their game against Weston-super-Mare on the gate. So they've made, obviously, the enhancements to be able to host games. So the fact that they can at least get money through the gate and behind the bar is the most important thing.
Absolutely. You've been tempted to, now that we're allowed to go to see games, is there any coming up that you have your eye on? And are there any specific regulations in place that you're aware of, or any of the teams that might be letting fans in?
Well, I know, as I said, the Cambridge have confirmed it's maximum of 200, and then the turnstiles will be shut. Tonight they've got similar against Weston, and I believe the attendance according to Twitter was 126 tonight. Right. So people have been quite wary of it. I imagine that's a lot of Western fans not coming up because they don't want to come up from Western, be turned away. So for us this week, we've got Tuffley Rovers Evesham tomorrow night, which should be a good game. Two good local sides. There'll be a few there, and Tuffley have done a good job with what they are looking to do. They have the temperature checks, they have everything in place, they have the regulations that they're following. I don't know what their limit's going to be. They haven't confirmed the exact limit.
Tuffley, it'd be 125, I think. Is this their first one?
First one since fans come back in.
Right, so there'll be 125, and then the following game it goes up to 200, either 150 or 200, I can't remember.
So, realistically, Tuffley, out of the games we're going to see this week, it's probably going to be the one that will be nearest to that limit. On Thursday, we'll be seeing Longlevens versus Thornbury Town. I don't anticipate too many Thornbury fans coming up. There'll be a few local and ground hoppers around at Longlevens. There always is, but Longlevens are a side that don't tend to get the hundreds and thousands through the gate anyway. So there'll be up to about 100 people there anyway, and that would be a good night at Longlevens attendance wise. But two very good games in midweek for our Hellenic sides to look at, and then obviously a big one on Saturday where the National League side get their pre-season underway.
Mm-hmm. Have you noticed any specific or regulations that clubs are putting in place, or specific requirements for fans, Tom?
I've been pretty impressed with what teams have been doing up here. They've so I think it's probably Ascot that started doing it, but they had Aldershot Town of the National League on Saturday, and they did all of their ticket. They did free tickets, but they did it over Eventbrite. So you had to have a ticket to be able to go, because it's fair to say I think I looked up the attendance for Aldershot, and it was in the four figures on a regular basis in the National League, as you'd expect. Obviously Ascot would be nearer the sort of the lower hundreds, but you'd expect first game back, first time Aldershot fans have had a chance to watch their team in any sort of football in a long time. You'd expect it to be quite a busy crowd. So they did they did Eventbrite tickets, and I think they were all gone within about they were definitely gone within the hour. I think Windsor have followed up doing a similar thing. Where they've got Slough, they've got their local rivals, Slough. That might be tomorrow night. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. So teams would do it using Eventbrite, which I'm quite keen to see this sort of continue, because I think being able to buy tickets for a game ahead of time, whilst games aren't going to be sellouts, when you're getting average crowds of between 100 and 200 in the Hellenic League, we're not going to sell out, but just fans wanting to support their club and being able to buy a ticket even though maybe they couldn't go, I don't know, being able to do that in advance is I think it's a bit of there's a little revenue stream there that I think clubs haven't sort of caught on to yet, and hopefully there will be ways of making a little bit more cash for clubs, because obviously Eventbrite takes off a little bit of cash if you're doing paid for tickets, but if it's free, they're not paying for anything. But so I've quite liked that little initiative, and I'm hoping that's something that might sort of continue and just become the norm, really, being able to buy tickets online. That would be great.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I'm looking to go to, because Binfield were in such good form at the weekend, I'm looking to go and see them tomorrow night. I think they're playing at Wokingham and Embrook, who are Step 6, Hellenic League, Division 1 East. So there doesn't seem to be any... Wokingham have put various guidelines that fans have to follow on their Twitter page, but there doesn't seem to be any specific buying tickets ahead of time or anything like that. So, yeah, I guess if you're planning to go there, get there nice and early. Just make sure that you're one of the first 150 through the door.
Yeah.
And if you are planning to go to games, it's always best to check with the clubs to make sure you know what their individual regulations are. But when fixtures become competitive, we go up from 15% capacity to 30% capacity. So that would be 300 people through the door for Step 5 and 6 level fixtures. And we do have some competitive games to look forward to. We've had the draw for the extra preliminary round and preliminary round in the FA Cup. And we've also had the draw for the first qualifying round in the FA Vase. Any fixtures? Before we start this, I always feel like when we're talking certain topics, we can perhaps, like last few weeks, we've been talking about let fans in and we've been quite negative. So maybe there is a negative side to these at this draw. But let's start with the positive. Is there any fixtures here that you like the look of? Any games that you've got your eye on, having seen them?
Well, our way, we've got the delightful double header in the FA Cup. We've got Lydney versus Fairford, and in the Vase we got Fairford versus Lydney. So nice and original in the draws. And, fresh new matches we're not tending to see, even though we're probably end up going to see it at least 4 times now. And likelihood is, the way it goes, one of the Hellenic Cups will see Lydney versus Fairford again. So that'll be the battle of the next couple of months there. You'd imagine as well that when the fixtures are released, Fairford versus Lydney on a Tuesday night is bound to happen in the first month or so of the season as well. So 2 teams will see a lot of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone that took your fancy there, Tom, at the fixtures that
Are we chatting Vase or FA Cup?
Let's start with FA Cup, because they're the games that
fine, good. I've got a negative. None of them. Absolutely none of them. They're all away. FA Cup extra preliminary round next Tuesday night. They're all
no
away.
Home teams? No one's at home?
None.
No Berkshire home teams in the FA.
How has that happened?
Even if you include Virginia Water, which is in Surrey, not Berkshire, they're all away. You've got AFC Portchester v Sandhurst, Aylesbury Vale Dynamos v Windsor, Christchurch v Ascot, Christchurch on a Tuesday night. Hamble Club v Reading City, Spelthorne Sports, Virginia Water, and Westbury United v Binfield. I mean, Westbury is Wiltshire. It's where they make butter. It's ridiculous.
That's okay. This was the negative I was alluding to. There have been quite a few people complaining about the distance of journey. So to set the context, we've got
worldwide pandemic
being played on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On Monday August the 31st to Thursday the September the 3rd. Midweek fixtures for the for the extra preliminary round of the FA Cup, and there are some very long trips to take care of. And in the current climate, where clubs haven't seen anyone through the door for the last 4 months, it did seem like maybe an opportunity where you could just perhaps make the regionalisation of this round even more specific.
I mean, to say it's
a horizontal regionalisation.
To say it's regionalised is a joke. And I don't know. I mean, I spoke to one club secretary asking about how much it costs to go to a particular trip, and if they lose that game, they will lose money. It's
travelling away.
They're all travelling away, Rob.
Of course.
But which the guy at the club in question that I spoke to, I was just asking about if they lose, then with the 300 odd quid won't cover, because I mean there'll be a limited number of fans. I'm not saying that the fans wouldn't have made, I don't think, that much of a difference, but certainly if the prize money was what it was last season, then we'd be talking a little bit different. But it just seems a bit nut. Like, for this season only, could they not have just gone, well, let's just get all the clubs that are closest to each other and just get them to play each other? It'll be good, because it'll probably be good for the attendance and anyway, so it's exacerbated by the fact that all of our Berkshire clubs are away.
Well, I was on Saturday at Brimscombe. I was sworn at by the assistant manager for Brimscombe, Tim Wilkins. He dropped a rude word on me because I pointed out to him the fact that this season, and they've also confirmed that in the FA Cup, there are no replays at any round. So therefore, when Brimscombe and Thrupp go away to North Greenfield on Tuesday night, if it goes to extra time and penalties, you're probably not looking at leaving there until about midnight. He's supposed to get up at 5 o'clock the next morning for work, so he might as well stay awake because he won't get home till about 2:30 at the earliest. And then, you've got to be up at 5.
I know.
You have to do the all-nighter.
There are two things I've heard people say, in that one is, well, can't we just be happy there's football on again? And the other being, well, that's what you get into this level of football for. But it's not. It's not at all. You're not playing this level of football so that you can travel halfway across the south of England to play a football match on a Tuesday night. Is it Long Levens who've got a horrible trip as well?
Risborough Rangers.
Rangers.
So Risborough's nice, but that's a long way.
You're not going to see it.
Bishop's Field have Oxy Jets, which is Watford.
Oh,
yes.
God.
So from top of Cheltenham to Watford, I believe they're going to have to touch the M25 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then the question I've had sort of labelled on me is, with the fact that Hellenic League haven't released fixtures yet, why it's just not played on a Saturday?
Well,
and just play the amount of times that you've seen the Hellenic League bring fixtures forward, why don't they just play a local team in that first midweek to get the season underway, FA Cup on a Saturday? Because that's what happened.
Yeah.
The first year we covered the Hellenic League and the Southern League and branched out a little bit. I remember on the Tuesday night we watched Tuffley Fairford, on the Wednesday night we watched Long Levens Brimscombe, and then on Saturday we watched Fairford Long Levens in the FA Cup. So they had a league game in that first midweek before the FA Cup fixture. I don't know why they're not doing that again, really. Especially when it's not like the fixtures have been signed, sealed, delivered, and released.
No, I mean
They don't have a replay to worry about, do they? So.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just quite literally someone does a draw, writes it down on a PDF, and puts it out. There's no fanfare or anything. Why? It's just nuts. I don't like. Okay, in a league season, you do, in the Hellenic especially, you have to go from Berkshire, you have to go from East Berks to Gloucestershire. Fine. Why make it worse by sending the FA Cup? Anyway,
Yeah,
Furious.
what grinds
Absolutely
Tom's
furious.
gears. Yeah. Before we go off the FA Cup, one positive, or I guess two positives, is that we have two clubs in the Hellenic League, neither of them specifically in either of our regions, but two clubs making their FA Cup debuts this season. We've got Long Crendon, who, they play, the club is based in Buckinghamshire, but they're actually playing out of Oxford City's ground to meet the ground grading, and they play there for the Hellenic League football. And one you might know a little bit more about, Ryan, is Newark Town,
Yeah.
Gloucestershire. So they're making their FA Cup debut. Anything to say on them before I?
Yeah, Newman, a side who divide opinion is the best way to say it in Gloucestershire. There's a bit of controversy a few years ago with Newman. They basically played in the Gloucester Northern Senior League, so that's what 3 tiers below Hellenic Prem. Basically, what they did is they registered their reserve sides in that reserve league, and what happened in terms of the politics of it, and effectively the first team played in the reserve league, and the reserves played in the Northern Senior League. What happened was the Northern Senior League clubs voted them out, kicked them out, and they sort of seek refuge with the Hellenic League and ended up being better for it by being promoted to the Div 1 West. And some clubs in those lower leagues resent that and feel that they didn't pay their dues and earn it naturally. Me, I've always kept an open mind with Newent. I like the club and the way they've built themselves off the pitch, as well as on it as well. They've done a lot of work to that ground, a new stand-in. They've just done the new bar. They are a club that are looking to build a decent Hellenic Premier League ground there. So, they're in Div 1 West. They haven't really done too well in the last 2 years, but maybe it was a sense that they were punching above their weight slightly. But this year could be a good year for them. They've got a couple of experienced players down there. Tyler Weir's one that springs to mind, former Gloucester City and Worcester City man. He's been around a while now, and he's an experienced man who can play a number of positions, and they have a mixture of players like that and a lot of youngsters. And they've registered an under-18 side for the first time this year, so it's looking good for Newent, and I'm delighted that they've got FA Cup football. The big carrot they're being dangled in this extra preliminary round is if they win it, their next FA Cup game's at home, which, the prospect of a decent first FA Cup game at home, when fans are going to be allowed in, more fans as well by the time it does get underway that round, with a new bar, with a new stand, if they win that extra preliminary round, that'd be massive for the club.
Yeah. So just to round that out, I guess we've got the fact that where are they? Newent Town are away at Cripps, who are
Bristol,
believe based in Bath.
Yeah, Western League side.
Yep. And then we have Long Crendon away at Clanfield 85, who are just the other side of Oxford from them. So not too big a journey from them, I think. Though they do have to get around the Oxford Ring Road, which can be a bit fun. Anything to say on the FA Vars before we move on? Any fixtures? The date of the games is a bit further on, so that we're not playing games there until the weekend of Saturday the 19th. So any fixtures you're looking forward to?
The Fairford Lydney one, it is going to be a good game. When they play each other, they always do tend to have decent matches. Long Levens have got Tiverington Rocks at home. Long Levens are a side who, in the last few years, have become a very good cup and Vars side. Got to the second round last year, and we're making history in that. And to be honest, it's a favourable draw. Tiverington are a side who have suffered from where they're playing, and considering where they're based, they ideally don't want to be in the Hellenic League. They'd rather be in either the Western League or the Somerset League, just for convenience and funding and everything like that. But they'll be a good side. They'll test Long Levens, but that is a fairly decent one locally for us up here as well.
I think looking at the fixtures, just for me, the big one is if Reading City get past Virginia Water in the first qualifying round, they will play their tenants, Woodley United, they will be away to their tenants, Woodley United, at the Rivermore. So that's quite an exciting one. Of course, Binfield don't come in until I think at least the second round after last season. Ascot aren't Hellenic anymore, but they're in the first round. I think the only other. It's a bit, yeah. That's it really. Windsor have got Long Buckby. I've no idea when Long Buckby is.
They're at home at least.
Yes, they are. And you've got Hollyport v FC Deportivo Galicia. Just going on league position last season, you've got to say Hollyport probably favourites for that. And then they play either Rayners Lane or Hanworth Villa. And again, you could see Hollyport perhaps doing all right in the Vars this season. There's a couple of winnable games. Obviously, they've got a couple of players to replace, but we'll see. Yeah,
and same as in the FA Cup, where there's one Hellenic side, Penn Green, who are making their FA Vars bow. I think that's basically because they haven't had their grounds grading until this season, and they've been drawn at home to Burnham for their first ever game in the competition. So
we have a side in Stonehouse Town, Div 1 West up this way. They're making their first appearance in the FA Vars for over 40 years.
Nice.
Wow.
So they've been accepted into the competition, and I think they've got a home draw in their first game.
Stonehouse?
Yep.
I can't see them on my list here, so maybe I haven't written them.
They've been given a bye, so they come in the second.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
That's what you want.
That's why I can't see it.
Yeah.
Is that for that performance 40 years ago?
No idea, but it was Stonehouse and Brimscombe are the two sides out this way that have been given a bye into the second round.
Lovely stuff. All right, gents. Move on to any news. Ryan, you've already shared a little bit with us. Have you got anything else on your list you want to talk about?
Last night, Tuffley Rovers confirmed that manager Mark Pritchett would be stepping down from his role. Based on what I can see in the statement and the comments from Pritchett, and knowing him as a bloke, he is going to want to keep playing. He's always come across as a guy who didn't really feel like a natural manager, but he's so experienced and quite a scary character on the field, but lovely off it, that he had the respect of everybody, and players did listen to him and played for him. So he will be sorely missed in the dugout. The fear is there that potentially he may not play as much anymore, but as he said, due to work commitments, he knows he's going to have to put a lot into work, and it will take up a lot of his time, and it's not fair on the club for him to juggle that. So ideally we still see him playing at Tuffley Rovers, and he's still got a lot to offer. So it's a bit of a sad moment, but as long as he's hanging around and still playing in local football, then he won't be missed too much, because he'll still be there. Rich Cox, he was initially the assistant and sort of the head of the coaching side of it. He's been given a job on a temporary basis. I would, it's probably me going out on a bit of a limb, but I would say he's probably going to get it. I think if he wants it, then he's the natural successor to the role. But then saying that, Tuffley have spent the last 2 years or so developing their development side. So development in the under-18s have become quite important to the club as an ethos. And overseeing that is Michael Palmer, former Cheltenham Academy manager. He is a young manager who's hungry, and probably would be in the running as well for me to do it. Tuffley have a couple of good managers at their disposal that they have the option for me to promote from within. Not a lot of clubs have that. So, it's good news for them, and it's exciting times to see how Tuffley progress and go forward with that. Elsewhere up here, Bishop's Cleeve has signed on a few players. Paul Collicutt has a chance to get his teeth into his new side. Signed 13 players on in the last week or so, with a couple potentially signing in the next few days. And also Ben Lodge has re-signed for Fairford Town. Ben Lodge, who I'll tell you now, gets a mention in my wingers for the 1920 season. He left halfway through the season to go play for Highworth. It's not worked out for him as he thought he would. Delighted to see that he's back at Fairford, and it shows that Fairford Town listen to East Meets West, and particularly what I say on East Meets West. I sat here a week ago and I said that they either need to get a striker or a winger. Cody Bevan's going to get himself a decent winger there. So
there you go. Insight from Ryan there. all the managers have their ear to the ground, especially when it comes to East meets West. Anything else for Tom? Any news from the East?
I think probably the biggest thing I think I've seen, aside from our brand new website, just squeeze that in, is Slough striker Manny Williams has joined Burnham as co-manager. 38, 111 appearances for Slough, played all over the place. I think I was going through his list of clubs, like Notts County, Millwall, Havant and Waterlooville, Basingstoke Town, Maidenhead United, Slough Town. Hugely experienced. I think he's still going to. Well, I asked him. He said he's still going to play. So that, I think him and Ashley James, the ex-Thatcher midfielder, are in charge at Burnham, and so I think Burnham could be one to watch. Whether they can disrupt anything at the top, I don't know. And
they'll be competitive, though, won't they? A lot of experience on that coaching staff there.
Yeah, you wonder. Well, I mean, we don't know who they've brought in player-wise yet, but yeah, it could be an interesting one. Obviously, Reading City continues to sign players. Windsor continue to sign players. Haven't yet seen anything from Binfield, but I am due to chat with them this week, so we shall find out. I think that's about it from me.
Well, if there's no more news, I guess we can move on to our team of the season. So we had a pretty exciting poll this week. So we were deciding who was going to go into our team for the centre-back position. We had two semi-finals, one for the East centre-backs and one for the West centre-backs. And the West centre-backs, Macaulay Herbert of Tuffley Rovers got through, and Ollie Long of Longleatons. And then they were joined by the East by Josh Blackwood of Reading City and Luke Appleton of Windsor. And with 3 minutes to go, we had three players on 27% of the vote. So there was literally only a few votes in it. But the winner eventually was Luke Appleton of Windsor, who goes into our team, and he is joined by Macaulay Herbert of Tuffley Rovers.
An ironic story for the voting, in fact, because I was so sure that Macaulay was going to win the poll, not even finish second, just win the poll. I just ignored it. And I've ended up having a look, and I was like, Christ, this is getting close here. And it suddenly switched to 27, 27, 27. Because Josh Blackwood ended up getting loads of votes in like the final 24 hours. So, ironically, what's beaten Josh Blackwood is the fact that I sent the poll to my brother and his mate back home, who voted for Macaulay Herbert to push him over the line. And the irony factor is they all went to the same school as Josh Blackwood.
Oh, well, that doesn't...
So I've done you. If Black was watching, I've done you.
There you go.
Yeah, Reading City, I've done you there. And you're right.
You're making this too political, Ryan.
I can't come home.
No, that's not. You won't get over the border. You'll be stuck there in Wiltshire forever now.
You'll have a stadium ban at Scars Lane.
I would never be able to walk on that freshly laid tarmac.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not quite tarmac yet, but...
So,
sorry, there was a bit of news. I forgot. Reading City going to lay a 4G pitch. That was it. Carry on.
Yeah, that's quite yeah. So, yeah, that's happening at Reading. That pitch has historically had a few issues, but, yeah. So, going back to our team of the year, have you noticed how we've had 5 players in so far, and they've come from 5 different clubs? And
I didn't think that at all.
They haven't. Neither of the top 2 clubs, the runaway leaders of the league, or the top 2 clubs, have been represented yet. So
top 3, Fairford haven't had one either.
Oh yeah, you're right. They didn't have a fullback at the end, though. Very good.
Oh yes, they did. They did. Nor
yeah.
me.
I thought they did. Yeah. You were gloating about it. Anyway, so today we move on to our right and left midfielders. So there's some ambiguity in my list, at least, between wingers and midfielders / forwards and midfielders. So
a lot of sides play 3 up front.
They do.
Exactly.
Play them as wingers. So, when we do our team in a month out this way, I find that forward players end up just making my right mid or left mid.
Yeah.
I'm saying, look, you play on the side. I'm putting you on the
side.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you've got paint on your boots, then
you're a winger.
Be in the team.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So, who's going to kick us off with a few left or right?
Throw to Tom. Tom.
Oh, God, you're going straight for me. Well, okay, first one's easy. McCoy Palmer. Reading City, easy, straight in. Terrific player. Watched him a few times. I think he was at Reading a couple of seasons in a row, and he's obviously moved on to Basingstoke Town this summer, so he's moved up to the Southern League. But I just
he's still signed on with Reading.
He is, yeah. He's dual registered, and but whether we will, obviously it depends on how he gets on at Basingstoke. But he played 18 times, 10 goals. He just really came into his own. I think he was injured a little bit as well last season, but he really came into his own last season. I'm also going to so this is striker come winger. I'm sticking Josh Helmore in there from Binfield because I think he's probably a centre forward, but he spent so much time on the left wing for Binfield last season. That's where I always saw him. He was popping up, he was moving out, he was pulling out wide. So he's going in for me as well. What this whole situation and whole thing has shown me is that I must pay more attention at football matches. Or I'm discerning, and I've got a really high bar for the players that I'm picking. I think you're probably right. Yeah,
probably that. Yeah. So that's your left midfielders, or McCord Palmer and Josh Helmore.
Yeah, I haven't really got anyone on the right.
You haven't got anyone on the right, okay?
No. Yeah, I think you've probably got him in your list, but I was toying with the idea of Josh Howell at Binfield as well. But I don't think he quite hit the heights in the second half of last season that I'm used to see, and he's one of those players who I've seen be absolutely brilliant, and I don't know, I don't quite know, I don't know the ins and outs of any situation, but he just didn't quite, I don't know whether he wasn't quite fit or what, but that sort of match winning performance that for so long he was putting on for Binfield just didn't feel like it was quite there. But it's also perhaps a case that the rest of the Binfield team moved up towards his level, and therefore it was harder for that to be stand up. I don't know, but so I'm going to leave the right side and I'm going to pass that on to somebody else.
Well, he's on my list anyway, so he does get a mention. So Ryan, over to you. How many lists of players have you got?
I've got more on the right, which is, it's an ideal balance there. We haven't spoke about this before the show, so it's funny how it works out.
Yeah.
The natural chemistry we've got, yeah. Yeah,
I could just tell. Tom's obviously just leaning to the left. We're talking about football, not politics here.
Yeah, but that's probably true as well.
So my list, I've straight away the first name I've got on the list is not even from either of our areas. It's Gio Verona of Wootton Bassett. I've seen him play. Must have been all across the middle. Off the striker as well, and to be honest, the kid's class. The guy's absolute. He's probably for me the best player I've seen play for Bassett. Maybe other than TJ Bohane up front, but
the Hellenic hitman.
Yeah, Verona's just always been consistent. Always been that quality player that seems to always turn up against our sides. So I had to put him on the list. Ben Lodge is there merely as an honourable mention for me. We've talked about in previous weeks players who potentially haven't played enough. I think it was about October, November time when he left to go to Highworth. So, for that first half of the season, outstanding. But, he missed a lot of the season because obviously he was at a different level.
I remember just at the start of the season, I wrote an absolutely glowing tribute to a lad called Khalid Simo at Reading City. It was one of those games where if you're used to going away after a game and writing something about it, you get in your head everything was he was zinging all over the place. He was everywhere. He was involved in everything, and I thought, oh wow, they've got a player there. And then he went and moved on to Flackwell Heath, and I didn't see him again. I don't even know if he played for Flackwell Heath. I'm not sure how many games he played. But had he stayed and put that performance in week out there, he would easily be on my list. And perhaps he should be. Flackwell Heath fans may well tell me that he thoroughly deserves to be on the list. But I thought in that one game I saw him at the start of the season, he was absolutely excellent, and I thought they've got a player here.
Also on my list, I've also got from Fairford Town, Harvey Scholes, a player who, again, has played all the way across the middle. And when Ben Lodge did leave Fairford Town, he took on that right wing mantle and he ran with that. And he is a quality player as well, and will be known amongst the league's teams as a decent, ball playing midfielder, which is, hard to come by. Harrison Iddles from Bishop's Cleeve, again, he can play either wing. He's one of the most hard-working and most fouled players I've ever seen. Another winger in Gloucestershire who can play either side is Frankie Johnson. I remember watching him when he first came into that Livney team, and he looked younger than he actually was. I think he was 17, but he looked like he's 14. He is a player who has grown in stature over the years, and he's becoming a very handy player at Livney. So, it's always nice to throw new sides out there, obviously with a few new sides being named here. Ed Major from Brimscombe and Thrupp makes my list. Quality winger that's played fullback as well, and the difference for Brimscombe and Thrupp, when they had that bad start last year, the difference what they did and how they tried to play is they got players like Ed Major playing wider, playing more direct, and when he's on form on that right wing, he is more than a handful and a quality player. Dan Stoneman from Westfields, stats-wise, is probably the best right winger in the league. I remember seeing him play against Bishop's Cleeve in one of the cups. Thought he was absolutely class, even though Westfields got beat, and his stats do speak for him. And then a player who joined Tuffley midway through the season, again, he's going to be an honourable mention for me, really, is Joe Shutt, Hartbury College student, and he does a lot at Hartbury, and to be honest, he is improved that Tuffley Rovers side. He's more direct than potentially some of the others that they've played in those wide positions. The pre-season friendly we saw at Tuffley the other week, and I imagine the pre-season friendly I'm going to see tomorrow night, I can already tell you Joe Shutt's going to do something. So when I tweet tomorrow night that Joe Shutt scored, remember you heard it here first on left wing, again, I've got McCoy Palmer. He came up to Long Levens on the away game, scored as he did the season before. Always a thorn in the side of our team, so you got to honour that. Ollie Pitt from Brimscombe and Thrupp a couple of years ago was one of the top goal scorers in the league. Last year, the whole team struggled, but he again was one of the more consistent performers. And in pre-season, he's already scored goals this year, so it shows that when he's on form, he does help Brimscombe tick a little bit. Jack Watts, I mentioned that sometimes you get forward players that I end up just sticking on the wing because they're more, get suited to that wing. Jack Watts is a player who I always end up putting on the left wing, just because he is very good at cutting in on that left-hand side on his right foot, and in particular the last couple of seasons he's done that extremely well, one of the top goal scorers in the league last year. He's moved on to Stourport Swift, and I think he's already scored 12 goals in pre-season or something stupid like that. Stourport scoring goals for fun, and honestly, he's scoring 2 a game at the moment. So it's ridiculous. And also a player, my last winger, is a player I'm about 75% sure plays on the wing. And it's Ryan Knight at Brackley Town Saints. Now, I may get corrected, but I'm definitely sure I've seen him play on the wing. So therefore, he makes my my shortlist on my left wing as well. But that's my shortlist. I've been quite thorough, as always.
Yes, as always.
You have indeed, yeah. I've got two Brackley. I've got 2 Brackley Town Saints players, so neither of them is your man.
No, that means I could be wrong. I pulled a Tom Canning. I pulled a Tom Canning right on the show.
Oh no! Don't need that.
Well, most of my East players have been mentioned. Well, in fact, all my East players have been mentioned. We've got Josh Howell, as we said, for Binfield, 33 games and 13 goals. And McCoy Palmer was on my list as well, 18 games, 10 goals. But then, as we mentioned last week, we thought that maybe some of the clubs that fall outside of our regions get maybe mentioned a little bit less. So I had a look through some of the other clubs to see if any of the wide players on those teams had particularly good seasons. And like I said, Brackley Town Saints. So on the right is Alex Scott, who had played 19 games and got 4 goals. He was, I think, their primary right winger. And then on the other side, Charlie Killy, who played 27 games and got 3 goals. They both themselves moved to Wantage in the league above this close season. So good seasons for both of them, and I think, step up proves that. Sam Coles, I'm jumping between left and right here, but let's just go with it for now. Sam Coles of Burnham, 24 games, 7 goals from the left. Again, I think he's a player who's sort of more of a forward than a left midfielder. But 24 games, 7 goals, and he's playing as a wide forward is still pretty good for Burnham. And then also a guy who I believe plays predominantly on the right, although I think from the photos I've seen anyway, is left-footed, is a guy called Luke Swan from Easington Sports. He had his debut season with the club last year, and he produced 7 goals in 30 games.
Wow.
A pretty good return for a young lad like that. So a few shout-outs there to some players who would normally fall outside of our areas. So I thought I'd give them a little praise. So how are we going to do this, gents? 1 poll for each position. I think
I don't mind doing the poll on Severn Sport for right winger.
Yeah, I think we'll do left wingers. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've definitely got all 3 of us mentioned McCoy, so he's definitely in the left wing position. Any others we feel strongly about coming from
I'd throw Jack Watson there for the simple fact he scored 34 goals. From that sort of forward left position. He would be out of the 4 I've got for left wing, he would be the one I'd throw in there.
I think you've got to have Josh Helmore in there without a doubt. And we need 1 more.
I mean, he's fantastic scoring rate for Binfield last year. I think he got something like 25 goals last
I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, that actually, he probably is in that team. He's probably nominally a left winger, but the teams at the top, the teams in the top 3 or 4, will be so attack minded that I imagine there's not a great deal of wing work to be done.
Yeah, we've mentioned that Sean Moore's been playing, has played out wide at point Binfield as well.
They sort of had a rotating 4 or 5 up front. Asa Povey was just so fast. You had Sean, you had Asa, Josh Howell. Josh Howell, Josh Helmore, and I'm probably forgetting someone as well. They brought in Adam Cornell for the last game of the season as well, and he's got an eye for goal as well, especially at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Rob, you get the final left winger there, mate.
Well, why don't we put in one of the wingers that we've got that played for a different club outside the region. Why don't we go for Charlie Killy from Berkshire Town Saints, left wing, 27 games and 3 goals, and a move to Wantage Town off the back of it.
I think he will be the son of the former manager of Brackley Town Saints, Gordon. Who wasn't well, but I'm loath to. I don't know any more than that.
Well, okay. Well, right-sided midfield then. Ryan, do you want to take your favourite? And we'll go from there.
I'd put my top 2 would be Gio Verona from Bassett, and I also think Dan Stoneman from Westfields would be the 2 that I would put forward more than the others. Not to say the others weren't good, but those 2 in particular have been, as I said, Stoneman's stats and Gio Verona's consistency. Yeah, you got to put that in there, really.
Okay, and should we put? I know you were talking against him a little bit, but Josh Howell.
No, I wasn't talking against him at all. I think he's a very good player.
You heard that. Tom Canning hates Josh Howell. That's what we've just learned there. I can't believe
He scored 13 goals last season, so that's still a pretty good return. So
it's more than I did. So
into our poll, and then if we're going for another player on the right, shall I pick one of the ones from the other clubs? Well, we've got. How about Luke Swan from Easington Sports? Then we haven't had him. 30 games and 7 goals, and like I say, I'm pretty sure he plays both sides. So we're going to put him in on the right. Good stuff. Okay, Well, that's our poll. So the polls will be live shortly, and you'll be able to vote on them. And next week we'll reveal the results and put 2 more players into our team of the season. Right.
We should probably do a graphic for the team of the season, really, with all the players so far on, shouldn't we? At some point.
Exactly. Yeah, and see if we can. Are we going to get a complete 11 from different clubs? Yeah. Well, have we got any more, gents? Anything else we want to discuss before we wrap this up?
I think all Hellenic news out there.
Yeah, I think I've had my
fix.
weekly rant, so I'm good. Didn't know I was so ranty.
So yeah, you need to get to a game, have that release.
This is true.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the baby will just mellow you out.
Exactly. Yeah. Babies are very known for doing that.
No sleep and no rest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You go one way or the other. Yeah. Hopefully for you, it mellows you out and you just get a bit calmer.
There you go. Yeah. Well, a month off the booze beckons. So that's going to send you one way or the other.
As of Tuesday, no more booze.
That's why you're making hay while the sun shines.
Yeah. Well, it's a Monday night. Why not?
I mean, I'd like to point out this fact that you should really drink responsibly, and a school night and a work night, you need to be careful.
One.
Absolutely.
Don't be like Tom. Look at him. Look at that face.
Absolutely.
Like Rob needs a haircut.
In a couple of weeks' time, when Tom sort of just sat there twitching for the whole show, he hasn't had any alcohol. Why.
He's in charge of the sound issues, so if there's any problems...
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
One thing I was just wondering, if you could play for a Hellenic League club, which one would you play for?
Oh, I would play for Tuffley Rovers.
Yeah, how come?
Out of our local sides, I think that I would be able to provide more to that team than I think I would for the other teams. They're lacking a big number 9 up top, so get me up there, play the ball long to me, have Warren Man running in and around me. Long Levens would be a nice club to play for, but with the youngsters and they move the ball very quickly, that's not happening really. Whereas Tuffley Rovers get the set pieces, get the ball wide, get the ball in the box, and then you attack it. Get the first 10 yards done in the head, mate, and then you just celebration's already planned when the ball gets wide. I know it's happening.
I think I'd go for Windsor, so I can play on that pitch. It's more likely to be good condition and forgiving for a man of advancing years as I am. So, some of the other pitches might be a little bit hard work if I'm looking to run around, and I'm not sure about any 4G pitches. They might be a bit tough on the joints. So Windsor, I think for me, as more of a matter of self-precaution than anything else.
See, I was going to say Windsor myself, to play at Stag Meadow, to play in a proper non-league ground, but also just to wear the kit. Because not you get to wear the red and the green one at home, and then you go away and you'd be in that black, white, and pink number, which I know people probably think is dreadful. I love it. I think it's absolutely terrific. And if I had 45 odd quid spare, I'd buy one.
Or if you were a keeper, you'd wear the pink kit.
Yeah.
With the black. Yeah.
Nice. All very nice. So yeah, mine was more to do with the kit.
What I find the least strange about that whole thing is how quickly we all had answers there. Almost as if we were thinking about it already, and we've already thought about it.
I'll see if I can come up with a weird question each week. We'll
Tom's
see.
Random question. Yeah.
I definitely don't do that on another podcast.
Of course. All right, gents. Before we go, Ryan, let people know where they can find all your output.
Yep, so on Twitter @7sport, facebook.com/7sport. And you can also get us on the email info@7sport.co.uk, 7sport.co.uk for a lot of highlights packages that have been uploaded in the last few days of commentaries we've done in the last week or so. So, yeah, delighted with the output we've got going at the moment.
Lovely stuff. And Tom, for Football in Berkshire?
Head to footballinberkshire.co.uk, www.footballinberkshire.co.uk. You can find us on Twitter at FIBerkshire, and just type in Football in Berkshire into Facebook, and we are there. Send us some messages and stuff, and go and look at the shiny new website.
Exactly, yeah. I was going to say, the website's all plush now, so you've got to go and give us a few clicks.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Let's go look it up. Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks very much, gents. All that's left for us to say is goodbye, good luck, and from me, Rob Davies, goodbye. From Tom Canning.
Bye.
And from Ryan Butler.
See you next week.
Enjoy your football, and we'll see you next week.